We're live.
So the reason I'm not doing the intro for this show is because it would be my third in a row. And I didn't mean that to rhyme. Gary, what is the military significance of 3 on a match?
3 on a match.
Ah.
I think you got me.
Okay, so what was happening in World War II? All the planes are dropping.
Okay.
And so they would go to blackouts in the cities, right?
Right.
Well, supposedly, if you lit more than 3 cigarettes on one match, that was enough for the airplanes to see your location, and then they would drop bombs on you. So the military concept was never more than 3 on a match.
There you go.
You never light more than 3 cigarettes on a match, meaning, hey, sometimes you got to just get rid of it and get to the next thing and get going. So I thought for sure you'd have that one.
No, I like it.
I'll be darned. Anyway.
This will be on some day. This will be on some damn PowerPoint next week. there'll be this little diagram of a match.
He's already working.
He's working on it.
I like it.
How cool is it? Not just Mike Haggerty, because that would be cool, right? I get to spend time with that guy. This is Gary Mayab and Clarissa Chun. This is the Iowa wrestling staff right here. Holy crap, this is awesome.
There's your 3 matches right there.
Yeah.
I can't light any more than this on one. I knew you'd bring that.
And you know what, Clarissa, you are the only person I believe that we've ever had on our show twice.
Jen Baldwin.
Yeah.
Jen Baldwin.
I listened to another podcast, yes. And
never mind, I lied.
Yeah.
But you are the second.
You're right.
Second.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. She is.
You've never had Coach Mayab on before.
How crazy.
No.
Wow.
Nope.
That's disrespect.
I think there was a squabble going on between them or something.
You can't get interviewed by 2 people that know you this well, Clarissa.
Yeah.
That's a rough interview.
That's for another podcast.
Right.
So if you guys are ready, I'm going to go ahead and hit this countdown. When we come back in, all 4 of us will be up on the screen. And honestly, guys, this is really informal. We're just here to kind of pick your all's brain, give us some insights about, obviously, the Hawkeye program, anything else that's you guys want to go into. We really don't script these, and the more that we try, the worse they are. So the better is we just kind of like free wing this and have fun with it. And you guys can take this in any direction that you want. How's that?
Sounds great.
Awesome.
And Mike is going to edit it anyway. So if there's something that just absolutely jumps out at us, it's a problem, we can always fix it.
Absolutely.
Okay, ready. Hello to all. I'm Mike Haggerty, and I'm alongside here with Michael Clayton. And oh my gosh, if we got for you today, we have Clarissa Chun and we have Gary Mayab joining us. And they are obviously the new double team staff at Iowa University. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Iowa wrestling. We're going to talk about girls wrestling. We're going to talk about all the changes that are taking place. Mike, I'm really looking forward to this one.
So am I.
Love it.
Wow, that didn't take long to go crazy. But Mike, you have history with Iowa, right? You were up in that territory for a long time.
In Brooklyn, Iowa.
Yeah, heck yeah. The community of Flags, exit 197, right off of good old I-80. I remember going into the old BGM High School. I remember going into the old field house and watching Iowa wrestling back in the day, when in the beginning of the heyday. And there was this giant pillars. And if you were, because the place was always packed. So if you were sitting in the field house, like our tickets half the time, and I think I maybe got to go to like 2 matches, I was behind the pillar like each time, and you're trying to look around the pillar and watch wrestling. And each time some guy in the crowd would just grab me and put me up on his shoulders. And so I'd end up watching the whole match on somebody's shoulder. It was just such a cool feel in that old field house. And then Carver has taken that to a much, anyway, I'm going to shut up because we've got you guys on. This is cool.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
I
Gary
think
and Clarissa, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to have
Thank
you guys on the show. And man, I just really, I've been looking forward to this opportunity to talk to you two guys ever since we decided to put this one together. So many great things that are happening in the sport, especially around women's wrestling. So I guess let's start off with you, Clarissa. So tell us a little bit about your journey and sort of what landed you with the position, since you were there first in the great state of Iowa. So tell us what steered you in that direction, and tell us a little bit about the position.
Honestly, really after or like right before the Olympics, I was thinking about wanting to get into college coaching. Really the motivation was to get closer to Waylon. And then right around that time, University of Iowa was announcing that they're going to start a women's wrestling program. I thought it was going to be like 3 to 5 years down the line, and it came fast. It came fast. It all happened fast. I put my name in the hat and went through the process, like fretted over it because, it's a big deal, it's Iowa wrestling. And it's a special place. There you go. That's what I was gonna say. What better than like waving it around was to be wearing it. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm excited to be a part of this program. Everyone's been super supportive. I mean, it is Iowa, and Iowa and wrestling is always in the same sentence here. It's in the whole state. It's in the fabric of the whole state, and it's exciting times to be a part of women's wrestling, let alone here in Iowa.
Absolutely. And Gary, you're the latest to join the team. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
Clarissa, what does that feel like to bring women's wrestling to the forefront in the state of Iowa? I mean,
yeah, wow. You're from Iowa, so it's just exactly. It's like wow. I mean, like the people that I meet, people that I come across, whether it's older women that are like, oh man, I would have loved to wrestle, or like young girls just saying like, I'm wrestling and I'm excited, and they got sanctioned as a high school sport this year, and just the energy and just everything about women's wrestling is like electrifying in the state. It really is awesome to be something a part of. The people in the state of Iowa are embarrassed that they're the 34th state to sanction girls wrestling as a high school sport, but they can be proud of University of Iowa being the first Power 5 conference to offer women's wrestling, at University of Iowa. So, oh man, there's a lot of great people that come out of the program. So I'm super excited to like see the pool, the depth of talent coming out of like the young women, the young girls coming out of the state of Iowa, because they're here and they're busting through the doors.
So I remember Cher White and Missy Klein came out for wrestling in junior high, and they only stayed a couple of days because they really only had each other. And I think, right. So now we've got that opportunity. Women can go into a room, they can see people that look like them, they can feel comfortable, feel safe going in. How important is this to create these environments for women to come in and feel safe and to feel appreciated? How important right now is that for our sport? Because
like 110% important. Coach Brands and Coach Gable, both of their daughters have like. Coach Gable's daughter came up to me and said, "I wish I could have wrestled," and Coach Gable was like, "I would have wanted her to wrestle, but there was no other women or girls wrestling." And then Coach Brands' daughter wrestled up until a certain point, and then when she got to high school, she stopped wrestling because no other girls were wrestling. So, and as parents, they didn't want to put her in that environment wrestling other boys. So it's so important, not just for the opportunity for these young girls to be able to compete in wrestling with other girls, but like just what the sport has to offer, you know.
So cool.
Yeah.
And Gary, you're the latest here just recently to join the staff up in Iowa. Give us a little insight on how that actually took place.
Well, Friday it went official, and it was a process. I was sitting at a desk here and grading papers, and looked down and took a call from Coach Chung, and it was awesome to hear her, and I'd reached out to her I think 3 weeks earlier or so, and we talked about her job and her role, and I was so happy for her and happy for the University of Iowa, and everything that was just going so fast there, and excited, and we got to talking, and just one of those kind of things that then had an opportunity to reach out and apply, and here we are now, right? It's pretty awesome.
How cool is it to go back? Because you had a chance to train at Iowa. Could you talk a little bit about what it feels like when you went there to train under that environment, and now to be able to go back to give back to the athletes that are looking for that same opportunity?
Oh, it's as Coach Chung said, it's obviously, and you know this, it's a room that changes you. It changes your perspective. It changes how you do business. I mean, I was at the time I was with Coach Haggerty, and we were coaching together, and all of a sudden had an opportunity to come up in 83, 84 and train to get ready for the trials that was going to be that spring. And Coach Gable had sent out a message, and I heeded the call, and was it's life-changing. It's one of those kind of things that you don't get very often, and I was lucky enough to get that opportunity at that point. Barry Davis kind of took care of me while I was here, and just you couldn't have asked for. I mean, the room was what the Iowa room so many times has been, just legendary figures up and down the lineup, and to walk into that room, I think the first thing I think when I did talk to Coach Haggerty again was just a mere thought that I don't know how anyone that was 18 years old went into that room. 18, 19. I just, I was 22 walking into the room, or almost 23, and it was like, really, this is and already been through 5 years of undergrad. So yeah, it's just, it's a magical place. It's steeped in a tradition that, as Coach said, is woven throughout the state. This isn't just a location that's great. The whole state feeds into that location, and the expectation, I think, comes from the ghosts that are in and around that place, right? And so it's just we're so looking forward to this.
Can you guys feel it?
Oh,
like
yeah.
You walk through it, right? I mean, I've been going to Iowa camps since I was, well, not recently, but back in the day, right? It does feel different when you walk through there. What is that? Is that dark matter? I don't know. We'll get Elon Musk on the call. We'll figure that out.
It's the energy. It's like the sweat and blood that's just seeped into the mat that still surrounds that energy in there. I don't know. It's pretty powerful.
It's not dark matter. It's black and gold matter.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, let me play on that just for a moment. Let me ask you guys this question. Both of you, either one or both can answer a question. But how are you guys going to be able to take and parlay that energy from what's already established and to interject that into a brand new program? How does that work, and what's that going to look like for you guys?
I think, like starting a new program at Iowa, I think everyone that has come on a visit already has that ingrained expectation of excellence. It's like Coach Mayab said, when you step into that room, it's about excellence. It's business. You're there to represent the Hawkeyes to the highest standards, and that's kind of, what the woman will emulate that, coming on board. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that Coach said it. I mean, I think in most opportunities to expand and grow, it all comes down to preparation, and preparation is set by expectation. And I think the expectation that the university has just by walking in the building or meeting with Coach Jung, I mean, I think that all of those things are, you don't go there unless you believe you are ready. And so I think that's something that we will obviously have to feed and nurture on a daily basis.
I love how you talk about preparation and expectation, right? And I know Wartburg is looking to hire a women's wrestling coach right now.
Right.
Somebody jump on the ball and take a lead in that program, because that's a program that's going to back women's wrestling. It's going to back wrestling. Mm-hmm. Somebody get your butt in the door. And they're going to work with you. Their AD is great. Let's move that forward. But doggone, so preparation and expectation. Where does the enforcement piece come in, and how do relationships fit into that enforcement piece? I want to talk about the recruits you're bringing in, because of, like you said, the expectations are amazing, and those women know what they're walking into when they walk into an Iowa wrestling room, right? It doesn't matter whether it's Tom Brands or Clarissa Chun. There's an expectation. Where's that standard held and enforced, and how do you do that?
Yeah, all these commits, they're wanting to win college national titles, but beyond that, they want to make and win world and Olympic medals too. So that's not something that I put on them. They come here saying, Coach, you've been through it. Help me get to that level, and really the most beautiful, you were talking about just like about the team last weekend, actually 2 weekends ago in Texas. It was the first time seeing 7 out of 10 of the commits, there in Texas. And a couple of them were in the same weight class as each other, but they were there supporting each other. If they were out, like watching their teammates, and they haven't been around each other yet, but they know who's on their team because they're tracking, they're following. We've got a group thing going and staying up to date on who's doing what and how they're doing, and just trying to bring everyone like together and collaborating together and supporting each other. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think you did, because they already understand what it takes to win. They already understand what it takes to be on a team, and they all know that they're going to be in it together. They all know, good and bad. Mm-hmm. They know they're going to be in it together, and there are going to be some days in that room, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And I think the main thing is like put on them that no one person's bigger than the whole team or program, right? And they all know that. And which is why they're supporting each other and there for each other.
Now, is that change if you're at a program where maybe you are the big name and there aren't a lot of other big names? And so if you really are the big fish in the pond, is it easier to just kind of?
I think it depends on the individual. Kylie Welker, I would say she's the big fish, right? U20 world champion, U23 world bronze medalist, she went to women's nationals in Texas, and she didn't compete, but she was mat side watching all the other commits compete, and really because the way it was set up, I was on one side of the arena and Ella Schmidt's like, hey, Nyla's up on that too. And I was like, oh man, I was looking for that bout, so like she had my back by like saying, hey, I got an extra set of eyes for you. And that's a good start, right?
That's cool. That's really cool. Why this guy? What was it that pulled you? I mean, I know why I would hire him, but I also know that I would not be in a position to hire him. It would, if anything, be the other way around.
Why not this guy? This guy is the brains, man. He's got it all. He's done it all. His experience at this level, this age group, and through the senior level, just the way he articulates differently than I do. Such a smart human being. Honestly, I love it. His leadership, everything. I was wanting someone who could make me better. That's the thing. I want, like, I don't look at um I don't look at myself as the top, right? Head coach, whatever. I look at it as we're a team and we're all here working together and let's do this together, however we can do it to advance the program forward, move the team forward. And that's the whole goal of it, right? That's where I feel, you know, like, take outcome aside, that's the process along the way. And I mean, Coach Mab, genius, this guy.
Coach Haggerty, how does trust play into what these two are doing? Building a program like this, the first Power 10, Power 5 program, like how does trust play into the role that these two are stepping into?
Well, if you're asking me that question, Mike, the thing to knowing them both pretty well from the past, obviously spending so much time with Coach Mayab over the years, Coach Mayab's going to plan, and I know he's already probably 2 blocks down the road on this plan, and I know that he's going to be a huge advocate for not only the program but in support of Clarissa. Very loyal guy. Coach Mayab was my assistant coach at Central Missouri for a short time, and he had that loyalty even back years and years and years ago. Then we've had it to, our paths have obviously separated, but they've also circled back in some ways. And watching Coach Mayab and what he's been able to do years with 2 programs in high school, let alone 1 program, that's special. And then to, sort of go in another direction and take a national team and sort of manage parts and things together, really create a system inside, let's face it, a program that didn't really have a system, and to grow the sport of Greco across the country, and gain respect, especially at our developmental side of things with our age groups. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. And with Clarissa, I personally, this is just me speaking. You talk about the trust. I think trust is built on a human being understanding other human beings, and I think that's Clarissa's probably strength, is that she is very good with people. What she brings to the table and her ability to connect athletes is going to be really, really special. So maybe I'm a bit biased in all of this, but you take the planner that Coach Mayab is, the connectivity that Clarissa has, and put this together. I'm not sure I'd want to coach against you guys. No, there may not be a few women's programs show up on the block just for that reason. But the truth of the matter is that the other part of this is I think both of them are wise to the part, and you can speak to this. I don't want to speak for you, but I certainly also think that you understand how important it is to grow the sport of women's wrestling, as well as to grow the sport of at Iowa. So in doing that, I don't think you could have a better team. I think that's the magic of this. And when I heard that this was a possibility, I was like, I was personally excited, but I was also professionally excited because I knew that this was going to be great for the sport of wrestling, and I knew it'd be great for the University of Iowa. So that's sort of my take on the whole thing.
Crazy.
Well said.
So what's next? What are the steps, right? Gary, you're getting ready to jump ship in Missouri and pack up and head to Iowa. Like, what does it look like when the two of you guys are in the office? Other than the dry erase board is going to get worn out, I know, like on day 3. Other than that, where does it go? What are the first things you guys are really starting to kick around?
Well, I believe that Coach, just so far, everything you've seen her do, and she has been she's been in charge of a 3-ring circus, getting off the ground very quickly, and she stood in the middle and did the job. And so I've been, the more that I got into this process of understanding more of it, the more that I am impressed. And I already, everybody, and what was nice about it is everybody knows who was supposed to be the coach here, and from day one. And it's an awesome feel when the fit is right, and this fit is right. And then you match into it what she's already done, and some of the decisions, everything that Coach Haggerty just got you talking about, about her decision-making skills and the connectivity within those skill sets are things that she reads things really well, and then she makes decisions. And those are the things that you're asking out of a head coach. And I think that from my part on it, it will be working with these student athletes that are phenomenal on paper, and then you watch them. And she sent me some film last night, and we talked and looking over the film, and just, I mean, the first film I opened up, I think my jaw just dropped. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, because the attacking style of this athlete that I opened up right off the bat, I was like, this is awesome. And so there's so many parts of that, but again, her strengths are, we know that. And I think that for me, just talking from my side of it, it just falls into what intent. Her intent will be where my actions will be driven.
Well, it wasn't Bella, was it?
No.
Because
no.
I love the quote.
It was one I had not seen before, and it caught me like that. It was like, oh, I'm telling you, Mike, we would have been in trouble, because if I'd have watched that film like at 10 o'clock at night and standing on your staircase there, we might have gotten done around 4 this morning. So
if you don't mind sharing the clip, I'd love to see it. Maybe I'll call you.
Yeah, I'll send it.
Clarissa, your quote on Bella, and I love this because it's Iowa wrestling style. Bella comes from a family background of fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I love that.
I know, right?
If that isn't what Iowa wrestling has been for the last 40, 50 years, come on, that's cool.
And Bella's awesome. She's a great kid. She if she didn't come to Iowa, she would just strictly do MMA. And I think she knows, I think her dad knows, I think Dana White knows that it would only help her MMA if she were to, work on the wrestling skill set of things. So happy to be here.
Let me ask you, I have just a real quick question. In regards to the landscape, I think it's pretty obvious of why Iowa would introduce Division I wrestling, right? I think that's pretty, to me, why not? I mean, Iowa is a great spot, but you get past, and then you ask yourself, okay, so Iowa has done this. So what's next? What's it going to take for other Big Ten schools or large universities, different programs? What's it going to take, and what does Iowa maybe know that some of the other institutions don't know? What is actually taking shape here? That's, to me, the big question.
I think other Big Ten programs need to invest in it. Invest in creating that or starting up a women's wrestling program and at their institution, because the commits that are coming to Iowa, they want to wrestle other Big Ten schools. So every chance I get, I'm calling out those other schools. Let's get it started. Invest into that program.
Is it interesting that isn't this what Title IX has always been about?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it that when we were in Title IX, losing what has traditionally been the men's programs, and everybody was up in arms, but now with a much bigger perspective over time, we're seeing Title IX and the effects of Title IX building women's wrestling, and women's wrestling is what saved men's wrestling. So in essence, by doing the right thing and by mandating that equity and everyone should have this opportunity, is this weird? Are we all like, I know maybe some of us have not been Title IX advocates because of what we saw, but should we all be advocates now? And I know the answer is yes, we probably should all be advocates, but should we all jump on board more? Like, should we promote this? Should we talk about how Title IX has come full circle to, I'm going to shut up, you're the expert.
Well, no, I think that what Coach brought up earlier about, whether it's Coach Gable's daughter or Coach Brand's daughter, I have 3 daughters. I have 2 granddaughters. And, I've always said that there were times that I felt guilty because my daughters ended up diving and doing other things, and I was okay with that because I think I felt the same way about it. I mean, if my daughters my older two would have had the opportunity to wrestle with women, I don't think there'd been a question, and that would have just been on whether they wanted to do that. At the time, again, they were divers and gymnasts, and so I was okay with that. But there are times that I just know how much wrestling has given all of us, and I'm thankful that Coach Chung had the first time I met her, she was in high school. And so I think that on her way to Fargo, wasn't it, Coach?
Never went to Fargo.
In South Dakota, I think. Mm-hmm. But the deal is that I think that, one of those things where if those things come about, I mean, we can see it in her, but unfortunately she's a pioneer, right? And there are many women that we honored in Vegas and so many others that could stand on that stage that were pioneers that have led this charge that's gotten us to the point where we are. But I know that from a selfish standpoint, I want that opportunity, if not for my daughters not having it, but at least my granddaughters now. If they choose to do this, if they choose, just like all wrestlers, male or female, if you choose to take the challenge of our sport and the lessons that only this sport really teaches in that way, then we should not impede that in any way. And I do agree with you, Mike. I think that even on the negative side of it, Coach Haggerty and myself were involved in a program where Title IX was attempted to be used in that way. And now we know that it's not a knife anymore. And that's really not how people are going after people anyway. What we are seeing, though, is the positive side of it now. And like most things in life, it appears that the negatives show up pretty quick, but the positives take a little while. And I'm hoping that I'm sure that this is what this part of it is happening.
Yeah, and Gary, I would totally agree with you. And I'll be totally honest and open with this. For many, many years, I harbored a lot of hard feelings towards just the thought and understanding of what Title IX represented. And so I think that we've sort of come, like Mike said earlier, sort of full circle with this. And in many ways, I see this, and this show wasn't designed to go into any politics of it or even into the weeds with 9 issues. For me, it's now become, rather than a misunderstanding of interpretation, it's become an understanding of the interpretation. The interpretations were never designed to eliminate or to cast away men's programs. It was, and like you said, Coach, I think at some point it was often used as a tool, and it's unfortunate that was the case. But now, rather than misinterpretation, we're seeing the true interpretation that was intended for. It's taken us a while to get there. It's taken me a while to raise it, and probably a lot of others. But I mean, how could we deny the fact that we're offering opportunities for women, for wrestlers, for human beings? And this is a very powerful moment, and I think in our time that we're seeing, and that really was sort of the driving interest of my question. What's it going to take for the rest of the landscape to really catch up to what's happening? Certainly, we don't want to have a bully on the block. We want to have programs out there that can sharpen the toolbox a little bit and make better programs. And I think it's coming. We're seeing that certainly at the Division II and Division III. The NAI programs sprung up very quickly just in the last 5 and 6 years. But I'm kind of waiting for that to start to really set off.
We know that because of World Team Trials, we have seen women wrestle on the floor of Carver. But to see them in Iowa, that right there, I think that's going to be a moment that I think everybody's going to grab a hold of, because I know that I'm looking forward to watching that moment.
Land on that moment for a while. When it happens, just
I think like Coach said, I think there's going to be a noticeability that will send a shockwave through, I hope.
If that's not on ESPN, no wrestling should ever be on ESPN ever again. Whatever we have to do, if somebody, gosh, of the 200 listeners we've got that are very loyal, by the way, somebody find ESPN and make sure that moment is on there, because that's I don't even know if I have a grasp of what that moment will be doing 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what our sport looks like. And crazy. My dad always said, if you get really good service at a restaurant, make sure you tip well. And if you don't get very good service, make sure they know, make sure that they know that there's a reason, and so promote the good. And if you're going to say something bad, then you've got to promote the good. And I think maybe that's where we're at with this whole concept. We've been talking about Title IX in such a negative way so long. Dang it, isn't it nice to be able to talk about it and the growth and the opportunities that it was intended for, even though people misapplied it. And we directed our angler towards a policy, right? When it was really the people interpreting the tool, right? But now it's awesome. So what does it take? We had Tom Ryan on, and he didn't sound like Ohio State's looking to move that quick on women's wrestling. Have we heard any other schools? Are there any rumblings that we're allowed to talk about?
Like I heard Oklahoma State, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know the timeline of it. I don't, that's the thing. I know Arizona State was close, and then administration wanted more. So I think they pulled back. I don't know.
What is the problem with programs not jumping on board right now? Because they've already lost Clarissa and Gary, right? So now the next program is going to have to figure out what a coaching staff looks like, and they've already lost two of the best. So if I'm the 10th program, who's, and this is a problem we've got right now, is developing coaches for women's wrestling, especially female coaches for women's wrestling, so that we can create and fill that gap for the demand that's already here and is only going to grow.
Right.
How do we get there? What do we need to do?
I think, Go, Coach, sorry.
No, I think that you hit on such a spot that I know that Coach and I have spoke briefly about the fact that there is a responsibility with this job as well. And it goes beyond the University of Iowa. I mean, people are going to watch on how this takes off. And then, our job is to get it right the first time somehow, which is really hard to do. If you're going to, write the program and make it fit, I mean, you don't have a whole lot of guidance to see directly from that. Now, obviously, we're standing in the shadows of one of the greatest programs in any sport, anywhere in the world. And so, that's that takes on that other dimension, but that's why we've already admitted that this is why it's special. But to those young ladies that are out in high school right now, and these numbers just continue to jump, next year, the state that I'm leaving, they're moving to 2 classes next year. And so, watching the Rogue Duel this year was a lot different than the matches I watched a year ago at the Rogue Duel, the MoKan, Missouri-Kansas Duel All-Star meet. And that was a big difference in 1 year. So there's an awful lot of really good coaches out there right now that is moving people forward. And like you said, the demand is going to, it is going to be a demand, and it's going to demand that people jump on board a little faster.
Coach Haggerty, you've taken my job in the past. That was your job. Like, how do we do it? What do we do to get more women on board and more people coaching women's wrestling? What does that take? What does it look like? And I mean, if I'm an education guy and you ask me, I'm going to say education's a big piece to that. Is that the biggest piece?
I think it's interesting because there's certainly a lot of dynamics that play into this growth. Sometimes opportunity will drive demand, and other times demand will drive opportunity. And currently, to say that, if we were to offer these programs, then there would just be this magnitude and flood of athletes be extremely excited about those chances to compete, and that might be part of it. But at the same time, uh, I also have a sneaking suspicion, and certainly I can't speak for university and college administrators, but the NCAA is in an interesting place right now. Let's face it. Uh, and so I've got a feeling that a lot of the NCAA schools and institutions are kind of sitting on guard just to kind of see what happens over these next couple of years. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are really dialed in. A lot we probably know to Clarissa and Gary's program. They're going to be watching. They're going to be checking things out
Mhm.
and see how this thing evolves and where this goes. But I also that basically the committee, the latest on NCAA futuristically could look entirely different than it does today. And I mean, and I'm not spilling the beans or saying anything I think out of line, but just reading, in the local media, the athletic director for one at Notre Dame shared a real interesting sort of dissertation and about the future of where the NCAA is headed. That was very interesting to me. And then you also have the committee that was just looking at where should the NCAA be putting their resources and stocks, and their recommendations to the rest of the body of the NCAA is basically saying, hey, everybody, unlimited coaches for all staff. The universities and the institutions will decide where they want to spend their money. If they want to put more money into basketball, or if they want to put more money into football, they'll hire unlimited coaches. And then the second thing that was really interesting to me was unlimited scholarships, like advocating for the fact that there would be unlimited scholarships. But the concern that is that if one university really was sort of like crippled with their football program or their basketball program, that ultimately they could put all their resources into that one basket to say, we're going to change that because basketball in theory is a money sport. So I really have a feeling, just from what I'm taking in, and I'm far from the expert. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot more insight than I do. But I do think that there's a bit of this sit and watch to see what's happening over the course of these next couple of years. And when the dust settles, hopefully, there will be, another 50 or 60 programs out there in Division II, Division I, Division III, all the programs. So
Mhm.
it'll be. I just find that we're going to be, in my mind, we're in a real interesting place right now. So I again think that maybe time will tell.
Mhm.
Crazy how it always does, doesn't it? And it shifts perspective. I said, if we said it to Tom Ryan, if you call my athlete for stalling 30 seconds into a match, I probably don't care. You hit him with 30 seconds at the end of a match, now I care, because the time is so much different. And I think it's interesting, that time piece, right? Like, something that hurts me today, I grow from, and down the road, I hold on to that as how valuable it was, but I didn't want to go through it at the time, right?
Mhm.
It's such a weird dynamic in
Yeah.
life. Oh. So you guys, obviously you don't get along very well hanging out. I just imagine the coaching meetings between Tom and Terry and their staff versus the coaching meetings with you guys. It's got to be a little bit of a different energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, we're getting there, right? That's what we're going to figure out. This will be good.
That's pretty cool. What do we do? What do we do to support women's wrestling? What can we do to be on board with Iowa wrestling? What do we do what do we do? Give us something to do. I'm a doer.
I think you're doing it, Coach. Yeah. You're offering opportunities for everyone, young women, to get coaches education. You're speaking about women's wrestling and advocating for female wrestlers. You can come and be a season ticket holder when we get our dual meets going. Come back to Iowa. Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. My mom can use the ticket if I'm not there to jump in. We'll make sure that's good. I like it. This is great. I know we lost Coach Haggerty for a bit. I'll try to give him a minute to jump back on before we sign out. What are some last words, or what would you like to share? Whether it's about the Iowa program, about working together with each other, or life in general. What do you guys want to throw out as we kind of wind down the show?
Oh man.
Well, for me, I mean, it's. I know that Coach, she got put in the job, got the job, and then just hit the ground running, and she's been running ever since. I mean, we call it weird times, because sometimes it might take 2 to 3 calls in a day to get one conversation in because of her current schedule, and I think that those are the kind of things that I'm looking forward to, at least being able to mitigate or help some of that stress out, I hope. And then the biggest part, though, is just, I wrote yesterday just a quick blurb on the WhatsApp, that I'm just looking forward to the moment of actually getting to meet, to learn, understand, find out what their goals, dreams, and visions are that they want us to work on to help them get where they want to be together. And if we could do that's, I mean, again, I can't foresee anything that would ever forgo the friendship that I have with all 3 of you, the 4 of us. I don't ever foresee that because we're all lifers, this is what we do. But in the same token, the athletes, they come across the threshold in 4 and 5 year increments. And it's those moments that we get to dive in and be with them and help them in any way they need to chase the direction they're running hard. And so for that part, I think that's the part that I'm most excited about.
Clarissa, it sounds like that human factor is really important, huh?
Absolutely. That was key, and it is key. I'm excited to get the team here, the staff here, because it's lonely being here.
Oh.
No, exactly. All of it. Love it.
That's great. Well, on behalf of Coach Haggerty and myself and all of us at the National Wrestling Coaches Council and our Heads Up podcast, we just want to thank you guys. We want to wish you luck. And man, after that first step onto the mat, when that first match happens and they blow that first whistle, woo, just gets me excited just to think about it. We're going to have to hear what your thoughts were, and we'll get you back on the show. So thank you both.
Thank you very much.
All right. We will see you soon. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Heads Up podcast. For Mike Haggerty, Mike Clayton, we'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Go Hawks.
Oh, my gosh. I was just jumping up. This is great. I guess we'll see you guys at trials, at World Team Trials.
Right. Yeah.
We'll see you there, and look forward to everything. Clarissa, I don't know if you're able to sit in on any of the classes.
I would love to, if that's okay.
Anything, just come, show up. If you haven't paid, don't worry about it. I don't care about. It's not about money. Just get there, show up, and I'm just excited to have you in the room.
You probably still owe her a little bit of money from Kansas City. We probably screwed that up, Mike.
Oh, I probably owe her a lot of money.
Oh, what did I do? What Kansas City?
So no, just I don't know. I think that if thanks for what you do and how you do it. We appreciate it. This is a great opportunity, I think, for both of us in the program, and I think that again, getting it out there, I think, is the key to seeing what is going to happen next, right?
Mm-hmm. I hope so. I bet, I get a chance to work with Taylor and Andrea and Charlotte Bailey.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a good group when we're talking about these challenges and what that looks like. And, do we go to tiered membership where if you're a first-year member coach of USA Wrestling, do you have to pay everything? Can we give you a free course if it's your first year? Right. Now, if you ignore that your first year, then maybe the second year it costs you half of a regular fee. But maybe something that helps because now if I said to 10 women, Right now, there's no barrier to entry other than getting on a computer and joining. Take a free course, join, have a free membership. Maybe we get somebody like a Lehman who pays for all of it, right? Hey, if you can get 10,000 women, free membership, free certification, and a free background check, I'll cut you a check at the end of the year because we need more female coaches. Like, I think that it's going to have to come from a big initiative where we say, do it, make it happen. And then somebody strokes a check and finds out what the costs are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully that's a direction.
Yeah,
but it appears that around.
Some of this is going to have to be reverse engineered somehow.
Yeah. We need to know what the number is. And this is what, and I need to get in touch with Kira Berry because I know when she came out for the summit, what's the number of women's programs we predict we will have by 2020, whatever, 2028? What's the number, right? So if we say by 2028, we want 35,000 female coaches, because right now USA Wrestling, we've got about 35,000 male. So if we said we wanted an equal number, do we know how many programs and needs there will be in 2028? Because we might say we're trying to gain 10,000 female coaches by 2028. If there's a gap of 20,000 jobs that we need to put them in, 10,000 coaches isn't enough.
Right.
Right.
And so I just want to know what that number is that we need to work towards so that we can come up with a plan so that we can go pitch it and get the money to make the plan happen. Right? Nobody at USA Wrestling is going to give two craps about giving a free membership, a free background check, and free coach education if somebody else is willing to stroke the check.
Right.
Well, but also, I mean, sometimes if you came on with this is your first time and you're working on the women's side, I don't know that we wouldn't just bite the bullet. I mean, we're at a second high water mark of all time in membership.
Yeah.
And equal in that same kind of thing coaching wise. So I think that, I mean, it's one of those deals. I mean, if you gave it away the first year, I mean, this Mike Clayton guy put everything out online digitally. So I don't know that there's a cost factor there for someone taking a class.
The only thing that costs us is the gain that we would have had if they had participated. But you got to assume 80 or 90% of the people we're trying to reach wouldn't have participated in the first place.
Well,
so
we
really
talked
not
a lot
losing
over the years about marketing and some of those keys. And one part in marketing is always a loss leader. Sometimes you do a loss leader to create great gain. And I think this is one of those moments. I think you're onto something. I think that's something that could definitely work. And I don't know. I didn't know this. This is something I've learned in the last 72 hours. Okay. That I've had so many calls. I can't tell you how many calls I've had where people have called me and said, this is amazing. I could never imagine you not doing Greco, but you doing this is awesome. And then they follow it up, Mike, with, I love coaching women. And I'm like, okay, tell me about it. And then they're like, they listen. Their eye contact is amazing. They over communicate, something that no male does.
Right.
And you don't want to throw out generalizations, you know what I mean? But without taking a job, no one ever stopped me before and said, hey, women wrestling, man, when you're coaching them, I mean, I had one, he's my mentor, right? Coach Feline. He told me this, but again, the guy's always ahead of the curve, right? He told me years ago, he goes, hey, this thing about coaching women, that's the thing to do. He goes, that's awesome. And then I told him I had a great experience up in New York with Beat the Streets ladies and just loved it. I had a room full of women. And the first time I did a back, over to my stomach, a dive back, there was like a whole bunch of young ladies in the room. And it was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, oh, what is amazing is in 45 minutes, you'll be doing it. and then all of a sudden they're all, you know what I mean? And they listen, and it was so neat. But again, in the last 72 hours since taking the job, all of a sudden people that would have never called me before and said those things are saying them to me right now, so it was cool. So it's like anything else. I mean, if you open up a different door, you're going to get a different, blowback to yourself, and I think this is the reason why you should take risk, right? So,
And you don't know, women's Greco might be a thing
oh,
sometime.
I'm telling you, it's on the call tonight. I mean, it's on the
Yeah.
agenda, because I had text yesterday that was like, hey, so is this Greco women thing going to happen at junior duels? Is this going to happen at cadet duels? Because 2 weeks ago it was on a state call, right? And they were talking about it. So it was like, all right.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, the day, I don't know, everything's run together here in the last few weeks, but a couple of weeks ago, right? A couple of weeks ago, there was a deal where a coach contacted me and said, man, how come these Greco coaches are all jumping over to women's wrestling? And I'm thinking, do you know something? Do you already know something? And I chatted with him, and no, I mean, if he did, then he pulled it off, because it was. I'm trying to now. I'm coming at him with questions where I've got an agenda, and he's like, he was just talking openly about it, and I was like, wow, this was a different. I thought he was coming at me for that reason, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just he had seen it and said, man, Western states, they've been. This is like their third year of doing a tournament where they've had up to 11 teams involved, a couple of them from the same state, but 11 teams involved, 165 women, 2 years ago. I mean, just stuff that you're like, wow, and I mean, watching what I did last night, I mean, shoot, I'm telling you what, A-frame is coming. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That one match, coach looked like a bear mauling.
Yeah.
It was like,
so one of our commits wrestled in this weekend, and their teams did like Greco and then freestyle. So she wrestled Greco, like her whole team, like the girls.
5-0.
5-0, yeah.
So, and her idea of Greco would help Greco. Period. Period. Okay. Lisa blows. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this first duel.
Right?
Who I had kind of had it. I don't know who would duel you. I wouldn't wrestle any of the women on your team, because I have, first of all, enough sense to know that I have never been in their league, even in my prime, let alone in my lack of prime. So, but I just can't wait. I will either be streaming or I will be there in person, and hopefully I'll be there in person.
Yeah.
I want to see that match. I want to.
I don't know that I've even said this to coach yet, but I mean, one of my thoughts is I look at this lineup of women, and I'm like, who's joining them? Who's crazy enough to look
Can you wrestle a men's program in duels? I'm serious. Like,
I'm looking at,
it should be something.
164. I mean, who's the next person in the door? I mean, who's ready to stand behind a great, but yet come to practice every day, right?
Yeah.
This is why. I mean, I don't know. It's I for the first time in my life, I've done this in high school before. Where you've had to do this, I'm sure, where I would teach freshmen how to protect themselves, right? I'm not so sure, again, depending on if coach can come up with the next 10 like she started out with. I mean, how do we get to 20 and have somebody that can literally walk in every day and go, yeah, I'm your training partner? Because in a duel, it's one thing. I mean, you take literally a 6-minute beat down.
Yeah.
But you come into practice every day, as you and I have talked about before, and it's a 2-hour, no official there to protect you. Stop that little moment there's no PD in freestyle anyway, but there's no PD in practice. So it's like, okay, and again, the switch over for me is that just one of millions, I think, that I'm so lucky I have her that's going to be the Sherpa. But I mean, I think that for me, just coming into a room where it's freestyle. I mean, I've even thought before, what would it be like to coach Greco at the high school level? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because if I've had rooms like I've had before, where I've had like 6 All-Americans and 3 national champions in one room, and then, like 206, we had 12 All-Americans and 4 national champs in one room in high school. But the next problem was, who do I put to train with those guys? And if it was Greco, to where you can just launch someone straight over the top, I mean, this is what freestyle, at the end of the day, it's not just the separation of skill. It's the skills that we're talking about trying to separate. I mean, you get caught in a leg lace in practice. Who calls the tech, right? I mean, you could have spaghetti legs by the time it's done. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I've got literally all kinds of questions on my phone that I've just got to. It's going to take months to get through with Coach on just, okay, what do you do about this? Because I can't imagine it.
I can't wait. Because you guys get to imagine it, and then you get to live it, and then you get to share it. So this
again, I've been across the curtain for 5 years. Where you walk across and you kind of see what's going on, or you get done with practice early, you go over, take your shoes off on the other side so you can watch practice, and do that. But there, it's national team. It's the 3 best women at each weight that are hammering on each other, right? And there's competition and there's cooperation taking place there. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is new territory. It's a program. It's one team.
Mm-hmm.
And the number 2, now this first year, the number 2s are going to get, I would think, all kinds of opportunities. Mm-hmm. But sooner or later, there's a set pecking order going on.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to walk far in that building to the next office over to know what that pecking order system looks like.
Oh, we'll hear that from the walls, I'm sure.
The year that I was looking to go to Iowa, right out of high school, they had, I think it was 11 returning All-Americans.
Right.
Wow. They were like, we only have 10 weight classes. We're going to have an All-American sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to talk about scholarship or housing money or books? Like, come on. Like, there's just.
Well, the Ed Bannock.
Returning
guys. The Ed Bannock, Pete Bush. Neither one of those guys can go up or down because of national titles. And then both of them have a national title. Someone's sitting on the bench. Right.
Crazy.
So.
Crazy. Thank you guys so much.
We would love to have that problem, Mike.
Well, you're going to. I'm excited to. Thank you guys. We appreciate you.
No, thank
you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, I will join you in the shirt here as soon as the 31st comes. I'll be in Hawk all the time.
I know you
I'm
will.
just going to be careful until that time.
I'm just so glad that I get to start wearing this, and I'm gonna recording this one. I'm glad I get to wear it and know 100%. I'm 100% behind every decision that coaching staff makes in that Iowa program.
Oh, yeah.
That makes me so proud of being an Iowan and to know that these people are taken care of. So you guys crush it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
How do I?